This is our AGM. We're going to have to get started soon.
Yep, recording has started.
Excellent. Right. While I'm presenting my screen here, I can't see what's going on Discord because I've not got a second screen up here.
I'll let you know if anyone bumps in.
Yes, well, indeed, if anyone's trying to get attention or whatever. So, are we all ready? Shall we get started? Welcome to Telford Makerspace's 2022 AGM. We've obviously got to let you know about what's been happening this year and what we're hoping is going to happen in the year to come. So this is our way of doing that. So this is the agenda for this evening. So as you can see, we're going to talk about projects and companies that we've dealt with in the past and what our finances are, and for the future, fundraising for a new space because we desperately need to move space, and workshops that we want to run, infrastructure projects and targets. We put out a call for AOB and I don't believe there were any items notified. Has anybody got any AOB that they would like to add at this stage? Okay, so nothing come up on the text.
Nope.
Okay, I will take that as a no then. In which case we'll move on. So past projects. Emily, would you like to lead on this one?
Yep, so we undertook a fair few projects this year. Despite COVID and being locked down for the first portion of the year, we still managed to get a few promotional materials out, a couple of smaller infrastructure projects, the 4G Wi-Fi hotspot, for example. We had a relatively short notice Belfry Craft Fair, if you guys can remember that. We had a great turnout, especially in spite of it being the first craft fair that had been put on at the Belfry. And we gained a few members from that, and it's kind of shown the possibility for us doing similar craft fairs in the future as a promotional activity.
Yes, definitely. It was quite an interesting day. I thought that the reaction to what we do was pretty good, and as you say, we got some new members out of it, so that was really good. I'd rather spend a little more time planning for the next one that we do.
Yeah, however, it was what, 2 or 3 weeks notice?
Yes.
It wasn't great, but we still managed to get a fair representation there.
Yeah, I think it actually went pretty well considering how quickly we had to put it together and the circumstances under which it was run. So yeah, well done to everybody who attended that one.
Not sure we've heard any more from the Belfry about doing any this year.
No, I haven't heard anything this year.
Was it Sarah, the gal who organised it, said we might do one at Christmas, but that didn't happen?
No, I think that was because of worries about whether or not there was going to be another lockdown and so on. Although we aren't out of the wood yet, we're kind of hoping, everyone I think is hoping that things are going to start to settle down a bit now. So hopefully this year we won't be having to have more lockdowns, and we'll hopefully then be able to get out there a bit more.
Yep, and last but not least, the big major end point of the year, the Iron Santa Christmas Fund. Remind me, Adam, it was £730 raised this year?
Yep, £730 collected. We still need to calculate the exact figure minus the fees from the GoFundMe as well as PayPal, but
yeah,
I'd say we got around £700 directly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I believe we
that was really
spent
good.
about 620 on toys, was it? And the rest will be carried over for next year's fund. Some
Yeah.
some of the donors will get on to paid a bit late.
Yeah.
But it
But
was
yes, that was
it was
brilliant.
a real good time for everyone involved, and everyone who helped out. Um, and it went to a really good cause. It was heartbreaking to see those kids, but really rewarding at the same time.
Yeah, I hope that it, lightened their time at the hospital
Hmm.
over
There were a
Christmas.
fair few parents that did do a public thank you on Facebook to anyone that donated presents as well. I don't think they expected that type of quality of presents for people that had to spend Christmas in A&E with their kids, just to find out that they didn't have time to get them a present themselves. So a lot of people will be thankful for that.
Mm.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what we do it for. It's because it's a nice thing to do. So
Exactly.
yeah, that was Adam, you put an awful lot of effort into that, and yeah, with help from the team as well. But
Yep.
all the time doing that Iron Man suit, and all of you organising, getting the toys purchased and the fundraiser and everything. So that was really good, brilliant. Thank you very
It
much. You're all involved in that.
It was a good group effort as well. There was a lot of help thrown in as well.
Yeah.
Well, that is kind of our hallmark. Was what we want to be doing, is helping each other with our aspirations and projects. So yeah, this is a case in point of that in action. So very proud. Thank you.
There'll be a mini documentary coming out soon, about the 15-20 minutes range. We've got a lot of footage, a lot of B-roll of the hospital visit, of the toy shop.
I was going to say, would that also include all of my bloopers?
There will
Oh,
be a
yes.
bit of a blooper reel. There will be a
Should
blooper
we,
reel.
should we have a separate section for Adam's flubs?
Yeah, it'll be at the end. It'll be at the end. But that should hopefully be coming out soon. I just need to sit down with Adam and a camera, and we'll just do a bit of a retrospective.
Okay,
It'll be a
sounds good.
nice little piece.
Right, okay, so let's move down the list. So, companies and sponsorships that we've worked with this past year.
So this
again,
is
Emily, you've
this
done a
is
lot of this.
mostly for companies that we've had a more personal interaction with, not just we've bought from them. The guys at 3D Prints, for example, they've always been supportive of the Makerspace since before we were a charity.
Absolutely, they donated us our first 3D printer.
They did. They donated us a lot of surplus stock over the years.
Excellent guys.
And I think it's only fair that we show them some thanks.
Yeah, I agree.
And potentially see about further collaboration or sponsorship in the future. We'll really get into that with the finances for next year, but there could be a potential for some sponsorship there. The likes of Camden Boss, Acu, and the Social Telecoms guys have all donated equipment specific for projects. Camden Boss, enclosures. Acu are a lot of screws, nuts and bolts and fixings. I think they donated about £200 this year, so 100 for sort of generic fixings, and they just wanted our feedback and a bit of social media stuff in exchange, and then 100 towards the Iron Man suit, and whatever was left over was put towards the fund for the toys. And the Social Telecoms guys, they provided the 4G SIM, didn't they, Andy?
Indeed, they did. Yes. So, unfortunately, because of the roof leak, we aren't able to use that tonight, but we were hoping to. However, yes, we now have a router that we can use that uses the 4G signal and provides Wi-Fi, put together by Emily And so with that, we have internet at the Makerspace. So we haven't put it up yet, and it's fortunate because the ceiling collapsed. So
You'll see some
I'm sure you've
pictures.
all heard about that.
Yep.
But yes.
And
so.
thanks, Ken, for putting us in touch with the Social Telecoms guys.
Indeed, very much so, yes.
No problems.
Thank you to Kieran for organising all of that. Is it okay to say the relationship there, Ken?
Yeah, that's fine.
So that's Kieran's brother.
Yep. And last but not least, on the company's front, the likes of Teespring and PCB Buy, we've used them for our own projects and for merchandise. For example, some concepts for the ID card system I'm hoping to bring in next year. The PCBs were done by them. They're a relatively small Chinese manufacturer. You know, they are a bit far away, but they are still a small company trying to compete in a massively competitive market. Teespring, for example, they're made to order digital printed shirts, and we just get all our merch through them.
Yes, we're set up on their website, aren't we? So
That's right.
we need to get some nice new designs up as well this year.
We do.
Okay, so is there anything more that you wish to say on that, Emily?
Not particularly. There's especially the big three, 3D Prints, Camden, Boss, and Accu. There might be opportunity for sponsorship for next year, and God knows we'll need it if we're getting an expensive new home.
Yeah.
But we've got a good standing relationship with them. So I'd like to see further collaboration, even if it is donation of materials or items.
Yeah, cool. Looking forward to achieving that. Right. So finances, Adam. I think this is for you as our treasurer.
You're on mute.
Okay.
Can anyone hear me now? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can, yes. You got that
Cool.
Bluetooth headset under control now?
Yeah, hopefully. So, looking at the finances for last year, as in 2021, we started the year with £2,737.64 at the beginning of January. We've ended off the year with a good raise in it, which is £3,482.81. Sorry, dyslexia only kicks in when I do public speaking. We've also raised within the financial year on the Belfry Craft Fair, £55. We did have £89.19 that was handed over to me when I took over. I believe those were from previous cash fundraisers and
Petty donations.
petty donations. Yeah.
Yeah.
We also we didn't have anything in regards to grant donations last year. Hopefully, we're going to change it next year. In regards to membership over the year, it's been about 1,521. So that's everyone that's paid in their monthly fees. Our current outgoings at the moment our current outgoings as they stand as of last year were £172. We did some reimbursements, which were returns and purchases, which was £84, and then the rent for 7 months, which is £125, totaling at £875. So essentially, there was a few months where the Belfry had a grant system in during COVID where they didn't have to charge us, and there were certain elements where they didn't charge us. For example, this month, I don't think they're actually charging us for this month due to us unable to access it. In regards to the independent fundraising, we've already touched upon, which is £730. So that was pretty much at the end of the year, and it was pretty hit and miss as well because it was a very slow takeoff. I was worried we wouldn't even hit the 500 mark at the coming a week before we were doing the shop, but we managed to overshoot it, which is great.
Yes, well done on that. That was a brilliant effort.
Does anyone have any questions over last year's finances?
Can I just
Going
clarify supplies and reimbursements? So supplies are all purchases that we have made either direct from the Makerspace account or via our PayPal account. Typically go towards infrastructure projects like the 4G hotspot, as well as utility
Yeah,
payments.
direct purchases almost.
Yeah.
So anything that we've had to order in as the Makerspace.
Yeah.
The screens, the COVID screens came out of that as well.
Yep. Reimbursements, on the other hand, are typically our backup for when we say there's a site that doesn't take a BACS transfer or PayPal and we have to do it through our own personal cards. We would typically get approval in advance and then get that reimbursed, and it comes under that category of reimbursements. For example, when we had the lathe and the mill donated to us from Watson Faces, the Birmingham guys.
Fizzpop.
We had to cover the fuel for the volunteers who helped out. And there's also been smaller odd purchases that we've had to reimburse for. But we have records for that if anyone needs them. So hopefully that explains those two, which are potentially the two confusing ones.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Cool. Okie dokie. So is there anything else you would like to say on that, Adam?
I'm ready to move on, but I'll give anyone a chance to ask any other questions. Going once. Going twice. And let's move on.
Okie dokie.
Thank you. So going forward, we want to have an open discussion over creating a more stable environment for our members. As you guys might not know, might know or may not know, we have to submit a finance report to the Charity Commission. So essentially what I want to do is be able to stabilize what our membership is. And in regards to membership, that's paid members, what ranks and levels that will cover, as well as the unpaid ones. And if we can get sponsorship for people that would like to become full members but need to get sponsored due to personal reasons. So going forward, we're hoping to create a stable plan and obviously have lists of benefits that will go into that, visiting the Makerspace in person and things like that. Obviously, this month it wouldn't be a great idea unless you're wearing a hard hat.
And a rain Mac.
And a rain Mac, yeah. In regards to raising money for 2022 going forward, we already have £75 carried over from last year as we didn't get a chance to spend it. And that was courtesies of ACU, who were fantastic, by the way. I think a random few friends saw their posts on Twitter and said, yeah, I know that guy. And then sent me the link. So they also did quite a bit of publicity for us as well. We're hoping to be financing for a new Makerspace. So don't worry, guys. The whole 10K isn't coming out of the membership. We're hoping to get some plans in order where it comes to sponsorships, donations, and charity drives to try and help us boost to that. And then going forward, sorry, Karen?
Also some grants as well.
Yes,
Yeah, bit of grant funding, bit of sponsorship, bit of membership fees.
Bit of everything thrown into the bucket, and hopefully it'll raise us up to that. We'd also have to consider some new insurance. Currently, we're covered under the Belfry, but if we do move to a new venue, or a new space where it's not got that infrastructure, and we'd have to consider that and make sure it's covered, just in case one of us accidentally loses a thumb or something. It's probably the least polite way of me putting that. I should have said to assure that everyone's covered and the Makerspace is protected as well.
So you're now banned from using sharp instruments at the Makerspace.
I would assume you kept me away from the batteries, to be honest, but okay.
Yes, that will be that as well.
There's a long list of things Adam can't use.
We have a release of the finance report to the Charity Commission I touched on previously. So essentially, we'll have to cover a total of the monthly memberships, donations, and outgoing. So essentially, for the monthly memberships, we won't be stating anyone's individual donations. It will be a group of pretty much what we've just done for last year, as in the total input has been, as well as donations and outgoings. We'll need that for the charity commission, as well as a stable timeline of who's a member for each individual month, so we can hand that over. We will obviously make it public to the Discord for all the members to have access to before I jump online. So if there's any questions that you guys have, or even any feedback where you said I've completely forgotten something, and my dog's barking at the moment. Sorry. There we go. So if there's anything I missed, it'll also be good to bring it to attention.
Fair enough. Thank you very much for that, Adam.
I think that covers everything for me. Does anyone have any questions going forward for the year? Really betting that Ken was going to ask me to repeat it all over, so I'm pretty happy. Go on next slide.
Well, I would like to make a bit of talk a little bit about financing for a new space. So we are talking to a bid writer who's going to help us put in a bid to get funding for a new space. So we'll keep you updated on that as and when. We're having our first meeting with her in early February, and we'll have probably an awful lot of to-do lists come out of that. And we will obviously update you all on what it means, what we can expect, and what the timelines will be. Okay, so if anyone, unless anybody wants to say any more, we'll move on. Right, okay, so dovetails quite nicely into new space and fundraiser for that. So we've been at the Belfry a bit too long now, I think, and we really do need a new space. It's been a very good place to start, but we've really outgrown it now. And it's also deteriorating in condition as well, as you can see from the photo there. And in general, you know, it's a very old building, and it has, shall we say, some quirks, and some rather unpleasant trees, like no heating, no, old windows with cracks in the panes and stuff like that. So we really do need something that's a little bit more suitable for us, and something that we don't have to share with others as well, which will be, would enable us to do much more and spread out more as well. We've recently acquired some excellent equipment from Fizzbot, which was alluded to earlier. We have a lathe and a mill. Now, these are machine shop tools, and they need to be properly installed. We can't have them on a mobile bench or anything like that, and we couldn't reasonably fit them into the current space without, well, I don't think we could reasonably...
Without significantly removing everything we've got in there.
Indeed,
they could occupy the back room on its own almost.
Yeah, exactly. And we have a laundry list of equipment which we could use in a new space, but we can't use there. We have various bits and pieces that are stored in other people's garages, and not mine in particular, and around surface grinders and just more test equipment and bits and pieces. And where we are at the moment, all of that is locked away out of reach and not really usable.
We're all looking forward to taking them out and playing with them at some stage.
Yes, and on top of that, we can't really fit very many people into the current space at the same time, particularly with the potential of ongoing COVID restrictions. Now, at the moment, there don't seem to be any, but it's hard to know what's going to happen going forward. But However, we can only reasonably fit about 6 or 7 people into the space if they're working on things at a time, and
even then it's a bit cramped.
That's restricting. It is, yeah, It is. So, how do we go about doing that? We have to raise some funds, basically. We've looked at quite a lot of buildings. You see some pictures below of a couple of buildings that we looked at recently. We've probably looked at about 5 or 6 over the years. Finding a building is actually quite hard, particularly because our budget is low, and it seems that Telford has one of the most expensive, is one of the most expensive places to acquire business premises in the UK. Rather strangely, places like Oxford is actually cheaper than here, but
yeah.
It's really weird.
We get up there with central London for some reason.
Yeah, we're actually more expensive than London.
Yes, I know. Yeah. So, but that's not stopping us, looking, and we have started talking to estate agents recently in January about some other spaces. So there's one that looks relatively promising that will be free in March, with a further extension possibly available in July. So that may be an option. We obviously need to start talking to them more about that. But we also need to look. So if anybody's got any ideas, now I would rather that we didn't go too far outside of the central part of Telford, because there are quite a number of people who come in either on foot or ride a bike or whatever, and I don't want to restrict who can actually access the space. So we have to be mindful of that, and obviously budget is the biggest driver on that as well. So we're looking at about 100 metres square as a minimum. With that, we think we could do quite a lot of stuff. We could partition it potentially, or basically have separate areas for different pursuits, like dirty versus clean work and so on. And around £10,000 a year seems to be, it would probably get us something of a decent size. Whether or not it'll get us something of that size, it's interesting. An interesting problem, I should say. In order to achieve that and be able to do all the extra things that we'll be able to do when we get a new space, we need to get some fundraising, and for that we need strategy and goals. And that's going to be fleshed out as we have our conversation with writer Sue McGavin over the next couple of months, and we obviously will be letting you know as and when we have things to tell you about that. So does anybody else want to add any to that? Any points I've missed out?
I'd say 10k seems like a massive amount, but if we're looking at it, it's pretty feasible with almost memberships almost on their own. Obviously, we'd have to get at least a minimum of 8 to 10 members a month being able to do standard payments in, but it's not too far out of the realms of an impossibility or a pipe dream. By all means, a grant will definitely jump us ahead, and it'll give us enough to be able to stabilise and get the equipment that we'd want, and as well as that, pay for the insurance and all the other outputs. But
yes,
it's not a
an impossible figure.
Impossible figure, yeah.
No, and one of the things that achieving this through a grant, we're not looking to be totally dependent on grants. We've so far managed with very, very minimal grants, but it will be a leg up. So the idea is that if we can get a bigger space, then we can grow our membership to fill that space, and we can use it and do more with it.
So it's the chicken to our egg, where if we've got a bigger space, we build it, they will come.
It's all interdependent.
Yeah,
And
the grant funding is more of a kickstart, an initial
yeah, it's a
investment.
leg up.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's just a leg up. That's the idea.
There was some
Cool.
ideas floating around with the fizz pop guys, especially with what they're doing in their new space, of potentially, the public or members helping with that initial investment. Now, their ideas were like buy a brick program with a bit more of a circuit boardy twist, where you buy like a circuit board that's permanently mounted in the space as sort of your own little personal sponsorship. Can't remember what they were charging, Andy. I think it was only like 20 or 30 quid.
There were, I think, a number of options on.
Yeah, but for individuals, it wasn't going to be a lot.
No, it wasn't. You're right.
For companies, I think it was going to be up to like £100. It could be something we do. Sponsor a brick,
we'll
or
put our own spin on it, of course. But
yeah,
yes.
I would like to see with some of the more corporate sponsors, as much as that word makes me sick sometimes, of potentially at least the guys who've really helped us out, 3D prints and the like, potentially having some sort of permanent installation as a thank you for their support and an upfront donation, an upfront sponsorship.
Yeah. They don't seem to like me at all, though.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's up with that, but me and Andy have good stead with them.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. Anytime I ask him anything, it's a flat no.
Well, let's. I mean, it's not just going to be 3D prints we'll be approaching anyway. But I'm sure we can work our wonders. Emily is very good with them.
Thank you.
So yes, well, but it's not going to be.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of personal touches. We do want to.
Anyway.
Yeah, we do want to bring the community into this and have your own little mark on it.
Yeah, in fact, I think that it would be good for us to put something up for 3D prints anyway.
Yeah.
And even if they aren't able to help us out, because they have provided us with so much in the past, it seems to me that it would be a nice thing to do for them, just to put them up as a sponsor. We just have to get their permission to use their logo, really. Which I would imagine they'd be quite happy.
Well, yeah, it's free advertising.
I would hope so, anyway.
Anyone have anything else on the new space? Should we move on, Andy?
Yeah, well, in closing on that, say, and if anybody has any ideas, sees a building, or has an urge to fundraise, or wants to get involved in all the work that comes out of the meetings from Sue, then yeah, please let us know, and we will do our best to help you help us.
Well, it means if anyone discovers they've had 100 Bitcoin in a hard drive somewhere and they want to donate it to a really good cause.
Absolutely.
I've got half a Bitcoin on a hard drive somewhere.
We'll take it. Thanks, Ken.
I have to find it first.
Well, I can give you a hand.
We'll all be round.
Yeah. Well, it's at the moment it's dipping, isn't it? But it'll hurry.
Yeah, we'll have to hold off before we trade it back in.
It will go back up if you look at all the workings behind it. It's obvious it'll go back up again because
without getting off track, let's move on, shall
absolutely. We? Yeah, indeed. Right. So, future workshops. If we have any time after we've burned ourselves out trying to find a new space,
that is the big asterisk here.
We do want to do some interesting things this year, and there's a couple of things that are lined up that people have expressed an interest in doing or attending, and so this little list here is a quick summary of that. We have other ideas as well, but if anyone wants, more than welcome. So the Cigar Box Guitars. Now, everyone must have seen my wonderful guitar solo. That
On
was
the
put
Twitters,
up
yeah.
on Discord and Twitter, yeah. So we'll be able to make these wonderful devices.
Yeah. One of the members, Carlos Fandango, I don't think he's in the meeting at the minute, makes these just for fun, doesn't he, Andy?
Yeah, and
Using
he's
whatever.
offered to run a session for us.
Yeah, he's offered to host a session as long as we bring our own boxes and get some tuning forks, tuning pegs. He'll show us how, and I think it'd be a great opportunity. I'd do it, and I can't even play guitar.
Yeah, I would do it. Yeah,
Um,
they're great fun. They're nice and easy to make, and you can make them out of junk if you want to. And they produce something that's actually a playable instrument as well. So good.
Pallet Wood Furniture Workshop again. We last did that 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah,
before we were a charity.
And people have been asking
They have.
If we can do it again.
Another one.
So yeah, I think
it's a really good summer one. That.
Yes, and now we've got a gazebo. That will help.
But yeah, it's British summers.
Yeah.
Stuff like the members cards introduction and tool safety induction stuff, that's more of a formality going forward. Especially with getting a new space, we're going to have to be really keyed in on tool safety.
Yeah. So Emily, you might like to explain
Yes.
what that means briefly.
So, as part of getting insurance, we've got to get on top of our health and safety, risk assessments, access to tool control, especially. That's tool access and tool control is you run into some very niche problems being a makerspace, because you want to tout that everyone can have access to everything, but you also need to keep people safe, and doing that in and implementing some sort of interlock or lock system on a tool can be difficult, or at least inconvenient. Other spaces use like an RFID card system where you scan your card on the little reader and it will give you 5, 10, 15 minutes on a tool before it shuts off. Now, I'd been thinking for ages about some sort of more novel solution of like a member's card that you would push into like a reader and keep it permanently in the reader while the tool is on. It's especially, I think that really overcomes the main problem with how do you know how long someone's going to use a tool for, and only using one tool at a time. For example, a laser cutter, a job could take half an hour or it could take 5 minutes. If your time is set to 15 minutes, you could either be on for too long or on for not enough time.
Yeah. So we need something more flexible, don't
we? We do.
That, and I'm guessing for insurance and legal purposes, we need to assure that people are trained up to use the tool.
So especially for dangerous tools, for dangerous tools like the lathe, the mill.
It's pretty much the same what a gym would have to do. They have a form of training implementation where they show you the equipment, show you the safety elements to it, and say that's the safe way to use it. If not, even someone that's very, very competent, like myself, I say competent, but I think I'm competent with batteries, yet they still explode. So it's this particular hardware where we'd want almost a really basic review as well as some in-depth training. So it'd be good to have that on our cards.
So what we will have is mandatory access control to certain tools, not to the majority of tools, just things that need it.
The things that are dangerous,
Yeah, but the idea with this one is we use a very simple chip, which is just literally a memory chip. It's an EEPROM, and the controller then knows it can read information off that chip and determine whether or not the holder of the card, which the chip is embedded in, is authorized to use the equipment, basically. Now, as a bit of a kink, we thought it would be nice to make it possible to allow people to build their own. So we've got some of the circuit boards already done for the prototype, and we thought it'd be quite a nice rite of passage that, you know, one of the first things you do is come and learn how to solder your card together. Now, obviously, there will be an option for people who wish or are unable to do that, for someone to build it for them. But we thought it would be quite nice as a sort of a thing that Telford Makerspace does that other places don't do.
It's a very Jedi lightsabery rite of passage.
I think quite a lot of people would like the idea of, and for those who don't like the idea, then, you know, we can just put one together. It's probably about half an hour's worth of soldering for someone who's done quite a lot of soldering. So it's not a massive task, and we can just build them on demand, basically.
I'm sure there's going to be a fair few volunteers that'll happily knock out 5 or 6 just for the fun of it.
Yeah, possibly so. Yeah, and obviously we'll need put some software together to make that work, but it'll be relatively simple. We'll have a microcontroller which reads the EEPROM and has a local database that tells it what it's allowed to allow, or who it's allowed to allow, basically. It's going to be encrypted, and yeah, basically it should be. It's not unhackable. Nothing's unhackable.
It'll also be open source, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the other. But yeah, I think it's quite a nice idea that we can make it something that you own. This was something that I think is probably quite important. When you actually have built it, you probably will look after it.
Yeah.
That's my hope, anyway.
Yeah, so at this stage, it's little more than prototypes. We had a few circuit boards made by that PCB Buy company. We've got a reader and a writer designed using ESP8266s as the main processors.
Yeah, that should be powerful.
That card you can see on the screen is the revision 2. Which we'll hopefully get started on this year. Get a few made, get a few tested, and see if this concept is actually worth exploring for the whole space, or for the tools that need it.
Yeah, it's never going to be for everything. I mean, there's not a lot of point in attaching that to a cordless drill
or a hammer.
But for large equipment, that could take your hand off, definitely.
Yeah. Circular saw more likely than the hand saw. Hand saw, you'd be very, very talented if you managed to amputate an arm and not realise it.
I think it would be persistent rather than talented. But anyway, so there will be other things as well. And if anyone's got any ideas, please let us know. Ken, sorry, I was talking over you there. Would you like to make a point?
So it was about the cutting the arm off. I just said, "'Tis but a flesh wound."
Yes, indeed. Hopefully, we're not going to have any dismembered corpses or other stalking the makerspace. We don't want that. Let them stay with the pythons. Okay, so anybody want to make any further points, or should we move on? Okay, I think we should move on then. Right, so infrastructure project.
Yep,
Emily,
sort of leading on from that, the ID card concept. You know, that's not the only infrastructure project we want to push this year. Infrastructure projects as a whole, we want to try and fund as the makerspace. We're not expecting individuals to put in any more than their time and their skills. But it's a totally voluntary thing that we want. We want people to help with. We see both some benefit to us as a space as well as to the individuals involved. Stuff like some sort of Discord online conferencing microphone and camera setup, you know, so that we can host meetings with like a live feed through Discord. You know, ideally, if our ceiling hadn't collapsed, this meeting would be held in Discord with a camera feed of one of the main tables in the room with us trustees talking around it. But we would like to do that for whatever space we end up with. We could easily get some off-the-shelf solution, maybe. I think, you know, Jabra or whatever probably do a circular mic and a camera, but it'd be really nice to make our own, maybe with a Raspberry Pi or something, you know, really make it our own. Similar with like a time lapse or like a session camera, not so much as a security measure, but more for promotions that maybe just takes a picture every minute or every 5 minutes that we stitch together at the end of the day and could put out on social media to say, look at members doing stuff, isn't that fun?
Yeah.
I'm sure we a few projects where we've all done something, not realised we probably wanted to document it or record it, and then realise it after we finish the task.
Exactly.
Yeah, and there are a couple of makerspaces around the world that do this kind of thing already. So there's precedent on that. And obviously we'd have to have some kind of way to control that for people who don't want to be on camera. But yeah, that's all details to be worked out with the community, isn't it?
Yep.
I'm sure Ken can start making pixelated masks for people. I think I've just come up with a great business idea, Ken. I'm calling you after this meeting.
Face shields.
Does actually sound kind of fun.
Yeah. Stuff like another project, for example, is signage for the space.
Yes.
Whether it's the current space or whether it's a new one, we're going to need to get some signage. We may get it sent out and made professionally if we design it, or we may design it ourselves and have a nice homey touch to it. It's honestly whoever wants to pick up the project can decide that. We just really want it to look professional and polished, whichever approach we go with. We really need to alert people to our presence, get people off the street, get people in. We really struggle with that at the Belfry.
And also potential with that as well, because there's not really anywhere we can put a sign where it will be visible on the street.
Yeah, unless it's just like, yes, just follow, just go left and then right and then left and cross over.
Might as well lay down some string or something.
Yeah.
maybe some of that luminous string.
But we could really make it our own, especially with, say, a new place. We could have a fancy outdoor screen or something that changed animations. I don't know. We could make it what we wanted.
Something that lights up at least, but something that shows that we've got a presence and makes people think, oh, that looks interesting.
I'm also having a big push this year for more promotional video for us. Video especially seems to do a lot better on social media than just pictures and text posts.
It does, yes.
And frankly, I've been really into making videos recently, especially with the Iron Santa Fund and that kind of thing. Making the videos and editing them has been a really fun process, and I think it's of benefit for us to do more.
I feel like the videos are fantastic. They're almost like it's an Element 14 type of thing.
Yes.
Where people like to see things being built, even if they don't want to make it themselves. They just, I happily sit down and would watch something being made from scratch just to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've all kind of been talking about that the last a couple of years, and we've just not got round to it. And it's something that I want to do as well, a little bit of.
So
this year we should make it happen.
I'm really happy to sit down with someone and record whatever project you want to document, or put together a few pictures into a fancy video. The main thing I want to push for is people to just start suggesting ideas of stuff they've done that would make a good video, or ways, small videos, short form videos that we could make as a group and potentially help the wider community. We just need ideas and volunteers to get the ball rolling on that front.
Yes, and we also so we're hoping to get our media presence increased
Hmm.
quite dramatically this year. Chloe, one of the new members who joined late in the year, offered to do our social media for us. We need to reconnect Chloe and get something sorted out with. But yes, that
Yep. And for that, we need a
bank of stuff that we can pump out. That'd be really good.
Yep. We might be making small changes to the Discord and how stuff potentially people post in the show off zone might end up on social media, but we'll advertise that change before we do it. Just I do imagine some people can be a bit self-conscious about the projects they make and might not necessarily want them shown publicly.
I'm pretty sure anything that we publicly transmit would be, if someone's in the video, we'll be asking them if they're happy about it first before we even consider it.
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll also be asking people for, when they've made a project, you can send us a picture, even if they haven't done it necessarily at the Makerspace. It's all about the community. We want to show people that we're active and we're doing. And this last year, there's not been much opportunity for showing each other what we've been doing. And hopefully 2022 will be the year that changes back. But if we can put that out, that will get more attention. So we will be talking about that quite a lot.
We just need that 1 or 2 projects that goes viral. We'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Flying Iron Man suit.
I don't think the space can afford to make a flying Iron Man suit.
Unless you can get funding for it, Adam.
Yep.
Flying Iron Dog suit.
Well, you can get Honey trained up. Right. Okay. So show. Slide.
Yep. No problem. Moving on.
There we go. So future targets. Not an awful lot to say other than the laundry list of what we got here. We're going to need to get organised, which has been difficult this past year because of things coming in and pandemics and weather and all sorts of things happening. But this year we're going to we're going to need to work out what we keep. We need to engage with everybody, particularly people who might have donated.
Andy, can you speak up? You're breaking up badly for me, at least.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was probably so yeah, we will need to speak to anybody who's made donations if we aren't going to keep the item, see whether we're back. But yeah, that's going to be a bit of a major project this year.
Especially with moving.
Yes, well, obviously, because the more stuff that we have, the more difficult it's going to be to. So yeah, that will be absolutely necessary.
And I'm pretty sure all of us have that over needing power to store something, knowing we'll make something out of it, but discover we've lost it because we've put it at the back of the cupboard and discover it 8 years later.
Yep. Oh, Andy's stream has died.
Yeah.
Let's give him a minute.
Yeah, he's disconnected.
Yeah, I wondered how long it was going to last.
The signs were there with him breaking up.
They were. They were.
Do you want me to download and reshare the PDF?
Can do. If he doesn't come back in a couple minutes.
Yeah, it take me that long to grab it, everything and set it up. So. I feel like we need elevator music to distract everyone.
I'm wondering if he realises that he's been disconnected or if he's still presenting.
He's still talking, he just hasn't noticed yet.
tell you what, I need to sit down with you, Adam, at some point, and we'll finish off the Christmas vid.
Yeah.
I literally
Also,
just need that narration of retrospectively talking about how it all went.
I also think at some stage we should discuss pushing forward with the newspapers and then the story behind it as well.
Yep.
Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yep.
You need to click close stream and then open yours. So if anyone's still on the old stream, they'll need to close that.
Yeah, they'll have to hover their mouse over mine and then jump into the stream. I'll give everyone a few minutes to jump on. Hi, Andy.
Hi there. Yeah, I was talking to myself for ages there.
We thought you would have been.
Yeah, we've replaced you like
Sorry
a
about
daft
that,
rat.
guys.
Yeah, we lost you at the end of the inventory point.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
I was going to say, I'll share the screen if you want to continue talking, so it minimises your bandwidth usage.
Well, I don't think there's much in the way of bandwidth when I'm not moving. You know, it's just the same screen, so we should be all right. I don't know. It died, and I wasn't aware because I can only see the presentation. So yeah, sorry about that, guys.
It's okay. Every few minutes we make some sounds, so you know we're still there.
I heard some messages come in on my phone, which is next to me, but I haven't been looking at it because I was talking. Anyway, so
Fundraising, Andy.
fundraising, yes. We are going to need to get good at fundraising this year. We are going to be discussing a strategy, well, rather building a strategy with the help of our bid writer, Sue McGavin. We'll obviously have to provide an awful lot of ideas ourselves, but we will need everyone's help with regard to that. We're probably going to do a fundraiser on we have one up on GoFundMe, but
Have you gone again? Oh, no, who's there?
I'm still here, aren't I?
You're
I
still
think
here.
that one was you, Paul.
Thanks.
You've put me off my stride now, Paul.
Good.
Saboteur. Right, yeah, so fundraising. We are going to have to make a strategy for this year, and it's one of the things that Sue McGavin is going to be helping us with, and we will let you know as and when we have action points that come out of that, and we will be wanting to get as many people involved in that as possible. We don't know what it's going to be structured like yet, but we are planning on putting a lot of effort into that. Okay, so the accounts, as we are a charity, we now have to submit our accounts to the Charity Commission, and it's basically a report that tells the Charity Commission how we're using what money we're raising, and they derive from that whether or not we're being a good charity or not. Yeah. So, Adam, would you like to say a few words on that?
Yeah, I touched on it quite a bit on the finance. So what I'll be doing is releasing, I'll hopefully be trying to download a template of what the Charity Commission want us to enter, as the best of I understand it, because it'll be the first time I'm doing it. It'll be a wizard on their website where we go through, ask certain questions, enter it, and then go through. What I'm going to do is obviously release what questions I'll be submitting in advance with the finances where I can share it. If they do ask for, the lowest and the highest and membership questions like that, there's certain bits we'd have to omit just for the sake of people's privacy. But in regards to that, we will be making most of it public, so everyone has a chance to have an input before we submit it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
And obviously, the rest of the trustees will be supporting you in that, in whichever ways you want to be supported.
Cool. I need a driver.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah, just a reminder for that. The deadline for this submission is March.
March the what?
What would it be? March the 1st, I believe.
Cool.
This year's a bit of an exception because last financial year was our first year as a charity, and your first year's financial reports have to be submitted, or can be submitted up to 6 months after the end of the financial year.
Yeah.
For the second financial year, the year we're currently in, and the rest going forward, they have to be submitted by the end of the financial year, i.e., what would be October.
Yeah.
So
I have to do 2 of them this year.
I thought the financial year is April.
it's from the start of our when we became a charity.
Oh, got you.
It's
Okay.
slightly different for charities than it is for for councils.
That makes sense.
So just a reminder for our treasure record.
I think I've just had a daunting revelation there where I got it wrong, but we're 3 months out there. But no, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so moving on. We need to mature our membership structure. Emily, you put that point in there. Would you like to say a few words on that one?
Yep. So tying into the points Adam was saying about the finances, as well as the ID card system and the maturing of the health and safety aspect, the whole image of memberships and exactly what being a member gets you will have to change as we get a new space, as we formalise the health and safety and the finances. The exact image is still coming into focus at the minute, but we're still going to keep to the basic of personal info, only what we really need. We're going to have to, we've already discussed, start restricting access to certain tools for health and safety reasons. I believe there might be some need to keep track of attendance more for keeping the place tidy and keeping the place safe.
It'll also cover security and insurance and everything
Exactly.
else, because
we need to know
having an
who's
open
in.
door policy is lovely,
Yeah.
but if someone walks out with 2 3D printers, it won't be great for everyone else.
Yeah.
No. Well, I don't think that's necessarily likely to be a big issue, but we do need to show that we are taking care of that. But also we need to report, because we are a charity, we need to report on members and how our members are receiving the service that we provide.
It will be sort of a tiered structure, I imagine, very similar to the likes of Patreon, if anyone's familiar with that. Except we will have to offer at least some form of free tier, whether that's just you're on the Discord and join into meetings like this, or whether you get basic access to the space but not tools, that kind of thing, is still to be confirmed. But we're happy to take input on what people's opinions, what tiers, how much you could potentially support financially, and that will influence.
By all means as well, we're also looking into trying to see if we can get some sort of sponsorship. So if you are wanting to become full in-depth members, but you're finding it financially unfeasible, come and talk to us. Obviously not in a public forum, and we're happy to try and see if we can set something up where you're offsided by someone else.
Yeah.
We will
so
be
I want
looking at
to
getting
cover
funding
that
for
in the
that.
sponsorships point of the presentation, which has disappeared from my screen.
Yeah, do you guys want me to start resharing, or Andy, did you want to continue sharing? I was a bit unclear on that.
Oh, sorry about that. I thought it would have automatically done it, but it hasn't. I apologise for that.
But yeah, alongside sort of a free tier, we want we want to have some way for people to be able to use the space if they can't afford to do so.
The way I think I would do it is have it so the free membership is for people that are open to use equipment that doesn't require health and safety training.
Yeah.
A
Well,
valid point.
we weren't aiming to discuss the final points of it tonight, but yeah, that
Yeah.
point's taken.
Um,
It will be we will be consulting everyone really on what
Yeah.
people's expectations will be, what people think is reasonable, because it's all for you guys really anyway. It has to be for the community. It has to be what the community would rather see. We have drivers that force us, make us, require us to do things, but we obviously want to do it sensitively to what the members want, and so we'll find some middle ground on all of that.
Yeah.
I think that pretty much summed up attendance records as well, actually.
Yep, it
Yeah.
does. Yes,
We just
indeed,
need
it
to
does.
keep attendance records for safety and safeguarding as well. That's the one, safeguarding.
Well, it enables us to do things like when we are applying for grants, we can say how many people it has benefited. Once we've had a grant, we have to report on.
I'm pretty
how
sure there'd be an
possible-
element towards the charity commission as well, won't there?
Yeah, absolutely. There's all sorts of different angles where we need to be able to say it doesn't necessarily have to be who. It just has to be that we have recorded who's that people attending, so we know what our reach is, how many people have been there, how many people have benefited and stuff. So increase our commercial outreach, Emily. I think that's again one of
So
yours.
that's tying into the sponsors and sort of the business relationships that we've got. Now, feel free to interject if you're opposed to any of this, but I think we've seen a lot of good benefits from working with businesses that are especially in sort of the engineering fields. The likes of Camden Boss and Acu giving us some of their products for basically nothing but a social media shout out. And I think it's worth expanding on that. There's other companies out there, I'm sure, that would potentially give us some of their products or potentially some sponsorship money.
There's also open partnerships, like we've got the I think it's cash providers. They were going to be doing an open street where they're doing some charity fundraising for their toys going forward for next year. And they said they're more than happy for us to set something up outside their shop so we can get a bit of publicity for ourselves as well. So it's a good partnership, and hopefully a few others will jump on and almost assist with the same type of model as well.
Yeah, exactly. We try and keep it local, or at least UK wide. Trying to benefit the guys who have done good for us in the past, and building those relationships that could potentially lead to interesting and bigger projects down the line. Find a metal supplier, we might be golden for lathe and mill materials for forever, just using offcuts, for example. But it doesn't happen unless we sit down and try and find these organisations.
In fact, I think we're going to have to set up some meetings, or try and set up some meetings with some of them, particularly local ones.
Yeah, the guys we've already talked to, exactly. For example, I need to sit down with 3D Prints and potentially go through sponsorship with them. Camden Boss Acu seem really forward with that. I hinted to them in an email in complete clarity that we're really looking for a new space. We've had our ceiling fall through, and they were like, "Oh no, if there's anything we can do to help, yada yada yada." And I said, "Look, wait till the AGM. We might be talking about sponsorship in a more formal capacity, that kind of thing."
To help us out, though, if everyone could buy a few bags of screws from them and say that you've got the Makerspace.
If you want to, if you actually have a need for screws, just looking
I can happily share my advice. They are wonderful with 3D prints and holding them together.
Yeah, so Adam got some of their special screws for plastic, screws for 3D printing, and they seem quite good. We've got a couple of selection boxes if anyone wants to try them out. And they are relatively cheap. I think they're about on the same line as some of the Amazon no-name jobs, but for like stainless steel, marine grade, all that kind of stuff.
I would
Anyway,
say
that's
I'm
enough
very
advertising
clueless.
for
Yeah.
ACU for now. But I've just on that last point of sponsorship opportunities, because it really ties in. Me and Adam are really going to try and knuckle down and formalise a sort of sponsorship framework, sponsorship policy for the businesses that we've interacted previously, as well as ones going forward.
So we can tell them what the deal is, basically.
Yeah, so it's essentially how we're selling it to them, where and when they're going to see any sort of advertisement back, or what benefits they get back, and sort of pricing for them sponsoring us. I personally, and I think Adam's in agreement here, that we would like to try and get maybe sort of a third of our target revenue through sponsorships. Honestly, that's like £3,000, £4,000. And I think we could potentially get a good chunk of that with the guys we're already talking to.
Hopefully more.
Yeah, essentially the way I'm thinking of selling it, and this is all to be confirmed, is the money just goes to paying for members, paying for memberships. Companies don't really like the term sort of core funding, but if they're paying for someone's membership, even if they don't know exactly who, then it's all money in the same pot, but everyone's happy. For example, if 3D Prints turn around and said, yeah, we'll sponsor 10 members for the year, that could be, what would that be?
Fantastic.
£1,200, at £10 a month, something like that. That would be amazing. Whatever members jump on the free membership tier wouldn't know who sponsors them. The company wouldn't know who sponsored it, one individual. It's all going to be anonymous.
It'd be anonymous to anonymous.
But everyone should see some benefit from it. But as I say, if you have any other ideas or any other ways we could sell it that would work, that would just reach out, and I'll take on some constructive criticism for that. Honestly, we're still
I think
trying
there's
to pick
a fair
ethical
few
companies.
companies that enjoy use just for their tax reliefs anyway. So
there is that. The cash providers guys are a bit tricky. They work by different rules to regular companies, but we'll deal with them.
they try to help us where they can, but obviously there's certain restrictions there they have to abide by on their end.
But if they are happy to let us have old equipment that they can't sell because it's broken or unsaleable or whatever, things that we can use, like they donated us a laptop, for instance, which turned out to be actually it's an okay laptop.
Pretty workable.
Yeah.
They're also happy to sell things on our behalf, so if there's something that we make.
There's all sorts of things we can do with that, and I think we can expand on that, as you say. So
I was going to say, my partner insists I sell off nearly everything I make, because she doesn't have to see it in the house.
Ken, you had a point?
I was trying to say I was going to bring up the fact that they'd mentioned skulls, because skulls sell really fast if we do start printing them.
Yeah, for example, skulls do sell quite well. I think, Adam, you did a couple of test skulls for them.
Yeah.
We need to check up on how they sold.
Yeah.
How much did they pay you, though, up front?
I'm going to have to dig up the figures. I'll have to dig up the figures.
£14 a skull or something like that?
I think the skulls themselves were about £10. They sold them for £20, and essentially what they did is divide up the sales into 3 categories. So one category covered the cost of making it, the other one was going straight into the Christmas toy fund, and the other one went into their Christmas toy fund. So essentially it kind of balanced out for around 3 different needs for them. So the idea was I did a few 3D prints for them in the past, some skulls, some baby Groots, and a few other things. They essentially divided up the profits to go into our respective charities, as it were.
Yep. But we would want to formalise that approach if we were doing a lot more.
I would
more
say it
space
was more of
for
a
them.
blind thing where we agreed the minimal price, and the idea was if they would start at a higher price and work their way down, and as soon as they hit the minimal price, they'd leave it on the shelf, and then going forward after that, we'd have a framework of what we would sell them as.
As
But
I
again,
say,
there's nothing
cash
stopping us from having
providers
our own.
work by a different set of rules to most companies, but they
It
offer
was
some
very
interesting
unusual
benefits.
because I was going to say it was very unusual because they had to insist we took the money on the exchange.
Up
They
front.
wouldn't. Yeah, I was more than happy to wait for it to sell and then them to let us know how much it was worth and then divide that.
Yeah,
But
it's one of those
apparently, it was against their rules.
second-hand pawn shop regulation things.
But saying that, there's nothing stopping us from having our own Etsy store or
No.
eBay store or something as well, where we got prints or designs that we've created and have ownership over and create and sell. Anything from, if one of us creates a fantastic piece of hardware or a robotic arm that we're willing to open source the CAD files and have the makerspace create it and sell it on their behalf. Well, have the makerspace sell it on the makerspace's basis, so it can be a
sold under
self-funding
license
charity
or
almost.
something.
Yeah.
In some instances, we won't even have to design the file ourselves. A lot of the makers on Thingiverse, if you say, look, I'm a charity, do you mind if I print it to help fund the charity? A lot of them do say yes.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have to just check with the owner.
You'd be surprised on how many owners are just really thankful you've even reached out. I've printed off a fair few things. I've pinged them a message going, hi, someone's asked me to make this. They paid this much money. Just putting it out there. Would you like 20% of it, 30% of it? And most, they're grateful for it because you're going out of your way to make sure that they get their cut. I have had a few cheeky people then turn and say, oh, I want half. And I went, okay, here you go.
Anything else
Yes.
for this slide?
Not from me. Has anybody else got anything? Okay, I think we should move on then. So, comes to the end. So, does anybody want to add any other business?
So we've almost touched upon any other business in a fair few of the slides anyway.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any other business?
Any topics they want to raise? Any ideas they want some help with? Anything that comes up based on what we've already talked about?
Also, any projects that you feel like you would want to do next year that you might want some grouping on? I'm thinking like the Iron Santa project for next year.
Are we making another suit?
Oh god, yeah.
Oh god.
This one will probably be owned by the makerspace as well, so it's a good thing because we could almost divvy up the prints to other people and have other people jump in and do the sanding and the painting, so I don't poison myself again. And
yeah.
once we're done, we could almost have it as a fantastic display piece. We could almost donate to a shop front and have it advertise our makerspace abilities.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, we need to capitalise on all that stuff. One thing that has come to my mind is volunteering. I think we need to formalise that properly this year. We made a start on it last year. We didn't go any further on it, and it would be really great if we could get that going. Things like maybe members helping out with the organisation of the place, or running whatever. Particularly if we get a new space, we're going to need members. So I think we need to engage everybody about that and open a discussion up really about what people would like, how people would like to help, and what things we think we need doing and all that sort of stuff. Plus, polishing off our volunteering documentation that we started on and kind of finishing it off.
Thomas has raised an interesting AOB point.
Yep.
When we get a new space, set up a small shop selling pies, Arduinos, etc.
That's something I suggested last year as well.
Yeah, a bit of
but
a micro shop.
Rather than saying a shop, my suggestion was to have a vending machine, like a snack vending machine full of them.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
certainly love to see some sort of vending machine full of consumables. That would be
I
good.
could just imagine a pie-powered pie dispensing pie machine.
You know, I
Pi
think
to the max, pi squared.
I think Andy, you touched upon micro shops
Yeah.
as well,
Yes,
where
I think
you rent out like a section of a display cabinet or some shelves or something.
I come up with the idea of having almost a bigger one where if we do have a spare room, we could almost make a makerspace run escape room where we all make our own version of an escape room and see if it open it to the public to get them in the door, as it were.
There's plenty of
I'm sure
avenues
there's
we could
amazing
do
things
if
we
we've
could do.
got space for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that would be great if we only run it periodically, rather than necessarily having a room set aside permanently for it.
Yeah. We could do something over
out.
Christmas or Halloween or something where we've got people that want to enjoy the particular part of the season and they want to. It also increased the ability of people coming in. So instead of us waiting for one person a day, it'd be like, book to book for a week or 2 weeks, and it'd be enough to sponsor or pay for the rent for a year, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Selling
I think
other members' projects as discussed earlier, Thomas says. Yep. Again, that's kind of like the micro shop thing, isn't it,
Yeah.
Andy?
Yeah, absolutely.
You would rent out a shelf and you could put whatever items you wanted, whether it's your own projects or some product you've been working on, like a mini Etsy store almost, without the obligation.
basically. Yeah. And we obviously if we'll need the space to do that. We can't do it where we are now, but all those things combined as stuff that we wanted to be able to do for a long time, and so we want input on that. So Thomas,
that's a good point.
Yeah, if you can put your ideas down, Thomas, that would be great.
We could also have an outsourced R&D type of challenge. So if a company comes up saying that they'd want to create something for their office or they want to see something and they're willing to sponsor us to create it, it would pay for the makerspace and volunteers could help chip in, but also be the experience and ability to make something, a resin table. Or I remember the last company I worked for, they paid a ridiculous amount for large TVs on display pieces that were powered by really cheap PCs, and it was just to display a set of slides. And I'm sure we could do better, far cheaper and far better.
Yeah, we would still need to formalize that kind of thing. Very, very.
I'm sure
strictly.
there'd be a minimum contract and everything, and documentation, and everything.
And we'd probably need to pay for a lot of stuff.
We
need.
also need to make sure that that we do it the right way according to the Charity Commission's requirements.
Exactly.
Because, there are some rules around what.
It can't be free or cheap labour for other companies that aren't charities and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. If we're using it to fund our activities, probably on a voluntary basis, then as long as we play by the rules, we'll be fine.
Yep.
I'm just gonna
mainly about phrasing, I think.
Just gonna put out a Twitter to Elon Musk to sponsor us for a flying Iron Man suit again.
You can try.
Anything else from anyone?
I think that covers everything.
Said about an hour ago, do we know how much Fizz Pop are paying for their space?
We don't know, but
we could ask.
I could probably ask,
or at the least get a price range that they're happy to share if they're not happy.
Yeah,
they don't want to share the exact figure.
I'll check with Gareth then.
Where is Fizzpop based anyway?
It's in Digbeth,
Digbeth,
which is quite near the city centre. But
it's like a 5-minute walk from the station, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's the back end of Chinatown, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Are they open to us visiting and stuff, doing some
Yeah, absolutely.
Calibrations and stuff as well, so we can almost. If we do have a panel or a YouTube channel where we're discussing something, have them invited in and do the same for them. Try and build some networks where we can share ideas.
Yeah,
absolutely. Gareth from Fizzpop has already asked if he can sit on some of our planning meetings to kind of gather information about
how we run as a
how
charity.
funding works, because
Yep.
their plan is to become a charity, and they're going to be doing similar sorts of things to us in that respect. And yeah, you know, this was in exchange for the lathe, basically.
Yeah, exactly. They were gonna, we were gonna help them with the charity application as well, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so they want to basically sort of learn from us as we're learning. It's just I said to him, well, yeah, we don't know it all. We're still learning it all ourselves. But you're welcome to sit in on it. So yeah, okay. Is there anything final items before we close?
Glenn's right.
Everyone have a good Christmas.
We got through it. Right. Well, thank you very much for everyone who's attended. Sorry, Adam, I was talking over you.
That's all right. I was going to say, speaking of which, I'll probably start reaching out to newspapers over the Iron Santa. And we've already got our fantastic pictures anyway, so we can almost ping them out. I'm hoping to try and contact a few newspapers and see if they're willing to make, because a large number of them pay for stories, so I'm hoping they'll pay the Makerspace for the story.
Yep.
And bring in some funds.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, they don't, and we still use it as free advertisement. So.
Yeah.
I have just had a random thought. Sorry, I'm changing the subject, but it ties back into Fizz Pop. I don't know whether it's been done or not, but how about the Great British Make-Off?
Yes.
This is one of mine. So yes, we have talked about it, and it's something that I would like to see happen. But
they're a pie division.
we have other priorities at the moment. If we can get them out of the way, then I would love to do something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
we
talked about like a scrapyard challenge or that kind of
like a scrapyard challenge or kit bashing or whatever it is, scrap bashing.
Yeah. So yeah, if you want to write down a short.
There's a number of YouTube guys that do it, don't they? Where they're in makers, where they challenge each other to make upright rockets or flying objects and compete against each other, don't they? So.
Yeah, it's certainly the thing that we would want to record and promote.
See if we could do an open challenge to a few of them, like the Hacksmith or something, to really boost our presence.
Yep.
Because my Iron Man suits are better than theirs.
You've laid down the gauntlet now.
I bet we could get Robert Llewellyn to host it as well. He'd probably love it.
Is he the guy who lives in Ironbridge?
No, he doesn't. Robert Llewellyn, he's the guy that played Crichton from Red Dwarf.
Oh right.
Yeah.
He is. No, there's a guy involved in the what's that TV program called? Repair Shop, I think it is, who lives in Ironbridge apparently.
Yeah, I know
maybe we should try and reach out to them.
What's his name again?
Well. I'm afraid I don't know it.
Someone can get at me off Stephen on Twitter.
I want to Twitter Stephen Fry. I think he'd do a wonderful voiceover for something.
Yeah.
Good old Stephen Fry. Anyway, okay, I think we're beginning to diverge off rough now, so I think we will close there. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending and all your input and all the effort that's gone into putting the presentation together. So that was our AGM for 2022. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Soon. Goodbye.
Bye all.
Yeah, goodbye. Well done, everybody. Well done.
Yeah.